You know that couple who's been married for 20 years? The ones who can have entire conversations with just a look. The ones who move around each other like a perfectly choreographed dance? That's Benedict and Sophie. Except they're not married yet. They haven't even had their wedding. But watching them together feels like watching two people who've already lived an entire lifetime side by side. And honestly, it's the most beautiful thing Bridgerton has ever given us. Asterisk. Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough attention in romance stories. Silence, not. The awkward kind where you're scrambling for something to say on a first date. Not the tense kind after an argument. I'm talking about comfortable silence. The kind where you can just exist next to someone without feeling like you need to fill every second with words. Benedict and Sophie have mastered this in a way that feels impossible for people who just met. There's this scene where they're simply sitting together, and neither of them is talking. Sophie is doing needlework, Benedict is sketching, and they're just there, together. And it feels more intimate than any passionate kiss scene we've gotten in previous seasons. Because this is what real partnership looks like. Think about the other Bridgerton couples for a second. Anthony and Kate had that enemies to lovers electricity where every silence was loaded with tension. Daphne and Simon had those charged moments full of longing and unspoken desire. Colin and Penelope had years of friendship but still had that giddy, talking over each other energy. But Benedict and Sophie, they skip right past all of that and land somewhere that feels like they've known each other forever. The way Benedict glances up from his sketchbook just to look at her. Not because he needs anything, but because he wants to. The way Sophie doesn't feel the need to perform or entertain or be anything other than herself. There's no pretense between them, no games, no wondering what the other person is thinking. They just know. And here's what makes it even more powerful. In Regency society, where every conversation is carefully calculated and every word has social implications, their silence is rebellious. It's intimate. It's a space they've created that belongs only to them. When they're quiet together, the rest of the world disappears. The tone doesn't matter. Social expectations don't matter. It's just them, existing in perfect harmony. This is married energy at its finest. Because when you've been with someone long enough, you realize that compatibility isn't about always having something to say. It's about being comfortable in those quiet moments where nothing needs to be said at all. Asterisk, have you ever noticed how long married couples move around each other? There's this unconscious choreography that happens. One person reaches for something and the other is already handing it to them. Someone steps left and the other automatically steps right. It's muscle memory built from years of sharing space. Benedict and Sophie have this. And it's wild because they shouldn't. They're supposed to be in that clumsy phase where you're still learning each other's rhythms, where you accidentally bump into each other or reach for the same thing at the same time. But watch them in any scene where they're sharing physical space. It's seamless. There's a moment in one episode where they're at a Bridgerton family gathering. The room is crowded, chaotic, full of people moving and talking. Benedict needs to cross the room and Sophie is in conversation with Eloise. Without even looking at each other, without any verbal communication, Benedict passes behind Sophie and his hand naturally finds the small of her back. Just for a second. Just to let her know he's there. And Sophie leans back into that touch, still talking to Eloise, not missing a beat in the conversation. It's so subtle you might miss it if you blink, but that's the point. That's what makes it feel so married. It's not performative. It's not for show. It's automatic. It's the kind of thing you do when touching someone has become as natural as breathing. And it goes both ways. Watch Sophie when Benedict is working on his art. She doesn't hover or interrupt or demand his attention. She knows when he needs space and when he needs company. She brings him tea without him asking. She adjusts the curtains to change the lighting without him noticing. She exists in his orbit in a way that supports rather than distracts. That's not something you learn overnight. That's the kind of intuition you develop when you really know someone. The dancing scenes are where this really shines. Every other Bridgerton couple has had beautiful dance sequences full of longing looks and sexual tension. Benedict and Sophie dance like they've done it 1,000 times before. There's no hesitation, no counting steps. They move as one unit, perfectly in sync, and it looks effortless. Because for them, it is this kind of physical harmony tells us everything we need to know about their emotional harmony. They're not trying to figure each other out. They already understand each other on a level that most couples take years to achieve. They've somehow skipped the learning curve and gone straight to the part where everything just works. There's this thing that happens with Benedict that's absolutely hilarious and completely endearing at the same time. He talks about Sophie like she's already his wife, not in a possessive way, not in a creepy way, but in that matter-of-fact tone that husbands use when they've been married for so long that referring to their spouse is just part of their identity. Someone asks Benedict about his plans for the evening, and he says something like Sophie prefers quiet dinners, as if that's just common knowledge. As if her preferences automatically dictate his schedule, and he's completely fine with that. No debate, no second thought. Her comfort is his priority, and he states it like he's commenting on the weather. Or watch how he introduces her in social settings. There's this subtle pride in his voice. Not the showy kind where he's trying to impress anyone. It's deeper than that. It's the pride of someone who genuinely thinks he won the lottery. He says her name like it's his favorite word. Like he's still a little bit amazed that she chose him. And the protective instinct. It's not the jealous, overbearing kind we see in so many romance stories. It's the quiet kind, the steady kind. Someone makes a subtle dig at Sophie in conversation, and Benedict doesn't make a scene. He doesn't cause drama. He simply redirects the conversation with such smooth skill that the person doesn't even realize they'd been shut down. That's husband behavior. That's the move of someone who's been defending their partner so long it's become second nature. Here's my favorite part though. Benedict asks for her opinion on everything. And I mean everything. His art, his family matters, social decisions, even things that society says are entirely his domain as a man. He genuinely values what she thinks. You can see it in how he listens to her. Not just hearing words, but actually absorbing what she's saying, processing it, considering it, and often changing his mind. Based on her perspective, there's a scene where he's discussing a potential art commission, and he literally says, "I need to ask Sophie first," and his brothers look at him like he's grown a second head. Because in their world, men don't ask permission. But Benedict isn't asking permission. He's consulting his partner. Because her input matters to him. Because they make decisions together. Because that's what you do when you see someone as your equal. The beautiful thing is Sophie does the same thing. She refers to things as we, not I, even though they're not officially together yet. We think instead of I think. We're planning instead of I'm planning. She's already included him in every aspect of her future. She's already made space for him in her life in a permanent way. This is what people mean when they say when you know, Benedict and Sophie know. They don't need a wedding to feel married. They don't need rings or vows or official declarations. They've already made the commitment in their hearts. The ceremony is just a formality at this point. Everything else, they're already living it. Asterisk, let's talk about what's missing from Benedict and Sophie's relationship. And I mean that as the highest compliment possible. Because what's missing is all the unnecessary drama that we've come to expect from romance stories. There's no miscommunication plotline. You know the one. Where a simple conversation could solve everything, but instead someone overhears half a sentence and jumps to the worst conclusion, and then we spend 3 episodes watching them suffer unnecessarily. Benedict and Sophie don't do that. When something bothers them, they talk about it. Radical concept, right? They actually communicate like adults. If Sophie is upset, she tells him why. If Benedict is worried about something, he shares it with her. They don't play games. They don't test each other. They don't create problems just to see how the other person will react. And honestly, it's refreshing. It's a love story that trusts its audience enough to be interesting without manufactured conflict. There's no jealousy subplot either. Nobody's ex shows up to cause trouble. Neither of them is constantly worried the other person is going to leave. There's no love triangle. No wondering who's going to end up with whom. Because they're secure. They trust each other completely. And that trust isn't something they had to build over time through tests and trials. It was just there from the beginning. Instant and absolute. Think about how rare that is in television. We're so used to watching couples prove their love by overcoming obstacles that we forget sometimes the love itself is enough. Here's the thing about Benedict and Sophie that makes them different from every other Bridgerton couple we've seen. They're not giving us butterflies. They're giving us something better. They're giving us peace. Don't get me wrong. The other love stories were beautiful. The tension between Anthony and Kate made us scream at our screens. The sweetness between Colin and Penelope made us cry happy tears. The passion between Daphne and Simon had us all fanning ourselves. But Benedict and Sophie, they make us feel calm, safe, like everything is going to be okay. And maybe that's exactly what we need right now. We've had the drama. We've had the angst. We've had the will they won't they that kept us up at night. Now we get to watch two people who just love each other, simply, completely, without all the chaos. And it turns out that's just as compelling. Maybe even more so. Because real life isn't always dramatic. Real life is coming home after a long day and someone already knows you need tea and silence. Real life is laughing at the same inside joke for the 100th time. Real life is building a life with someone who feels like home. That's what Benedict and Sophie represent. The kind of love that doesn't burn you out. The kind that sustains you. There's also something powerful about watching a man be soft. Benedict isn't trying to prove his masculinity. He's not brooding or distant or emotionally unavailable. He's present. He's gentle. He's in touch with his feelings. And somehow that makes him more attractive, not less. He shows us that strength isn't about building walls. It's about being vulnerable enough to let someone in completely. And Sophie shows us that you don't have to be loud to be powerful. She's not trying to change the world or break every rule or make grand statements. She's quiet. She's steady. But she's no less strong for it. Her power is in her consistency, her kindness, her unshakable sense of self. She doesn't need external validation because she knows who she is. Together they're showing us that love doesn't have to look one specific way. It doesn't have to be all-consuming fire. It can be a warm, steady flame that never goes out. It doesn't have to be a storm. It can be a safe harbor. And that's just as romantic. Maybe more so. This is why the married vibes thing resonates so deeply. Because what we're really saying is that they've found what most of us are searching for. That person who feels like home. That relationship where you don't have to pretend or perform or be anything other than yourself. That love that doesn't drain you but fills you up. Benedict and Sophie remind us that the goal isn't just to fall in love. It's to build a life with someone. And they're already building. They're already creating something that will last. Not because they're perfect, but because they're perfect for each other. Not because it's easy, but because they make it look easy. Not because they don't have problems, but because they face them together. We're obsessed with them because they give us hope. Hope that this kind of love exists. Hope that we can find it too. Hope that when we do find it, it'll feel exactly like this, comfortable, easy, right? Like coming home after being lost for a long time. That's the magic of Benedict and Sophie. They're not just characters in a story. They're a reminder of what love can be when you find your person. Your real person. The one who sees all of you and loves all of you and makes you feel like the luckiest person alive just by existing next to you. And honestly, that's the greatest love story of all.